locked behind a message orb at that camp. Maybe there's a clue as to what's going on.
No. I guess it's a maybe. A slight maybe. It depends on a lot of shit, okay?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, in all seriousness, Magic Legends is the new action RPG on the block. It was announced all the way back in 2017, originally touted as a traditional MMORPG, but was later revealed in 2019 as an action RPG. Unfortunate, since an MMORPG in the Magic the Gathering universe would have been so incredible, but alas, here we are with Magic Legends. Currently, the game is in open beta with plans to fully release the game as a free-to-play title later on this year. The game touts some unique features for the action RPG genre and plans to be a somewhat proper MMO action RPG in contrast to other games in the same genre. However, the game has been released to a resounding negative roar from fans and critics alike. Much of the videos you find on YouTube will be quick to dismiss the game and highlight its shortcomings, but is it really as bad as the reviewers say? I've put in roughly 50 or so hours into the game, beating the main storyline, getting 2 character classes to max level, and trying out a bit of the so-called endgame. Those 50 hours couldn't have all been bad, right? Well, let's talk about Magic Legends and see if you should give it a shot.
It does not matter what you do. Your ending has been written. And when you're destroyed, then it will be my time to rise.
Magic the Gathering has a vast storyline spanning decades within the actual trading card game. Magic Legends takes place within a specific time frame that was actually quite recent. If you don't want some of the storyline spoiled for you, then I suggest you skip to this time frame here, instead of listening to this short story synopsis, okay? Don't say I didn't warn you about the spoilers, because I sure did. So, are you ready? Good. The story of Magic Legends takes place sometime after the event called the Great Mending of Dominaria. Sometime before Legends takes place, there were time rifts that were essentially ripping Dominaria to shreds, which was shown in the set of Magic the Gathering called Time Spiral. The Mending essentially fixes all of the time rifts on Dominaria, allowing the plane to be habitable again, which is why much of the storyline takes place on Dominaria. This era of Magic the Gathering is also before the story called Hour of Devastation, which sets up the main villain of Magic the Gathering named Nicol Bolas to build his eternal army. This is a great plot setup for Magic Legends, as the storyline presented here will most likely have the players taking part in the fight against Nicol Bolas and his eternal army, which eventually leads into the biggest event in MTG history called the War of the Spark, in which all the main characters called Planeswalkers— oh yeah, let me explain what a Planeswalker is first. In this game, you create your very own Planeswalker, a being who can control mana and teleport between worlds. Anyways, the Planeswalkers all fight against Nicol Bolas as he tries to take over everything. I'm summarizing a ton of stuff here, I know, in this description, but truly, there is so much lore in Magic the Gathering that we could be here for hours talking about it. Unfortunately, while all of that sounds badass, none of it is actually set up here, at least not yet. It's basically just alluded to, since Ral Zarek, which is one of the main characters who shifts the storyline in that direction in the card game, is in this game. The story that you do play in Magic Legends introduces some of the main characters that play a part in that major event, but currently it's all just disconnected small stories that feel a bit disjointed. The storyline takes you to Zendikar, Gavony, also known as Innistrad, and several areas within Dominaria. The areas in Dominaria that you play are Shiv, Talaria, and Benalia. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, in the game's current state, it's all just setting up for a bigger storyline down the road. road. Obviously, besides the storyline, the gameplay is going to be the main hook of Magic Legends. Legends plays like a traditional isometric action RPG. You move with the WASD keys, use left click to attack, Q and E are mapped to your secondary skills, with the 1 through 4 keys being your spells. Character creation basically starts with you choosing one of the main 5 classes. The classes are the Geomancer, which is a red mana class that uses their fists to do the talking. The Beast Caller, a green mana class that uses a giant axe and has a spirit following them as a pet. The Necromancer, a black mana class that attacks using death magic to influence their pets. The Sanctifier, a white mana class that specializes in healing. And finally, the Mind Mage, a blue mana class that flings ranged attacks and controls the battlefield with stuns and teleports. Each class has their own signature abilities, so choosing which class suits you is important, since you can only choose one class to unlock in the beginning. There is a 6th class called the Dimir Assassin, but we'll get to them when we talk about the cash shop. What makes Magic Legends different than other action RPGs is the combat system tied to your spells. Your class mana color doesn't actually influence what type of deck you can make. All classes can play and use any combination of colors. Like the real card game, you build a deck of 12 spells that can constantly rotate in and out as you cast them during combat. The customization in this system tries to mimic the card game as faithfully as possible, although you can only create decks using 2 of the 5 main colors of mana. The colors of mana are red, which houses your fire, earth, and lightning spells, blue, which are your water, time, and control spells, black, which is your poison, death, and necromancy spells, white, which is your healing, enchanting, and divine spells, and finally green, which is your buffing, regenerating, and plant-like spells. All colors can also summon creatures, so technically each color can have a ton of minions following them at all times, or you can have a deck filled with attack spells. It's completely up to you. The combat system unfortunately doesn't work well in practice, however, since the spells that are in rotation are always randomized. There are combos you can set up using a mix of different spells, like getting guaranteed critical damage when using 2 spells in conjunction with one another, but since everything is so random during combat, it can be a bit janky to set up those combos properly unless you specify your deck to be geared towards setting up those combos, which in truth is what the game wants you to do. Because of this, combat boils down to either structuring your deck for specific setups, or just spamming your spells so that you can hopefully draw the specific spell you need. I can see what they were going for here. Having a combat system that is interactive, having you stay on your toes and keep combat interesting, since you are never really using the same spells within a short amount of time, but it just doesn't work as well as it should, at least in the beginning. I can at least admit, once you have a good repertoire of spells to choose from, you will have an easier time structuring a deck that truly works well with each other, but it can take a bit to get to that point. In terms of actual content that Magic Legends offers, there is the said storyline I talked about that will have the player taking part in each area in a 3-act structure for each plane. Playing the storyline unlocks various missions that can either be played solo or multiplayer. The open world has the most activities to take part in. Obviously, you can fight monsters in the areas, but there is also open world events that take place called skirmishes that when completed will net you experience and loot. Besides skirmishes, there's also world bosses called mythic encounters, mini dungeons called shattered reliquaries, control battles in which you fight over control of a mana tower, escalations, an event where a more powerful instance is created where you will fight even tougher enemies for far better loot, and currency dropping creatures called wisps that roam the overworld. There is even a PvP duel arena that you can fight players 1v1 in, which as far as I know, many action RPGs don't try to implement PvP too often, so it's at least unique to see some form of PvP here. Progression and loot in Magic Legends is also a bit unique. Well, when I say unique, it's probably more like confusing or overloaded. There is several different forms of currency, loot, and progression in Magic Legends. Let's start with the loot, the backbone of any action RPG. Legends doesn't really have loot. Well, I mean, it kinda does. All enemies you fight have a chance to drop armor, artifacts, which is basically just more armor, spell pages, brand new spells, and mana. New spells obviously unlocks that spell for you to use in your deck loadouts. Spell pages are used to upgrade your current spells and make them stronger up to, from what I've read, to a maximum rank of 10. Armor works a bit differently in Legends as well. Any armor that drops from monsters can be equipped and will provide various boosts in specific stats like resistances, higher health, more damage, etc. However, the same armor can drop multiple times, sort of like other action RPGs, but here, if you get a duplicate piece of armor, you can unlock further boosts to that specific piece of equipment, or it can even be used to upgrade the armor's stat increases. Artifacts are a bit more rare to drop since you can equip various different rarities of artifacts. There is common, uncommon, and legendary artifacts. Each artifact, like armor, provides further boosts to your character, but you use a currency called relic fragments to upgrade these versus gold and armor components. Let's talk about currency now. Legends has gold, which is used to purchase things from the auction house, upgrade armor, and also upgrade artifacts. There is planar mana, which comes in each color. The planar mana is used to unlock various bonuses in your domain, more on that in a bit. Chromatic mana, which is a special type of mana currency that is used to upgrade higher levels of spells and domain perks. Aether is a currency that is used to upgrade spells and various character perks, but like a mobile game, it's capped at only being able to earn 50k a day, which once you get to higher levels, isn't much. Then finally is your cash shop currency called Zen, which you use to buy cash shop items. Luckily, you can trade Aether that you earn each day to buy Zen from another player, so there is ways to earn Zen through gameplay at least without having to spend any real money. The last form of progression to talk about is actual levels. There is your class level, which goes up to a maximum of 30. The class levels unlock additional perks for your class abilities and unlocks a trait that can be equipped on any class when you hit a max level. Then there is your account level, otherwise known as your Planeswalker level. The Planeswalker level is a culmination of how many class levels you have earned on the lifetime of your account. Each Planeswalker level adds a small bonus, like 1% health or 1% extra gold drops. Essentially, you want to unlock and max as many classes as possible with this system. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as it sounds with the way that you unlock classes. Once again, more on that when we talk about the cash shop. The last thing to talk about gameplay-wise would be the domain. Your domain is essentially a player-owned house to an extent. Here you can test build loadouts on target dummies, earn weekly rewards, spend mana to unlock spells or classes, upgrade your domain to make ranking spells up cheaper, unlock artifacts. There is quite a lot of stuff to unlock and spend currency on here. Overall, that is everything that Magic Legends has to offer. Not a bad amount of stuff to do. The graphics and music do a good job of representing Magic the Gathering, but it's nothing to write home about, especially the graphics, but all of that is subjective to each individual player anyways. Okay, I've been avoiding this subject the whole video, but it is sadly time to talk about the cash shop.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The cash shop here is pretty aggressive since the game is free to play, but there is some silver lining here. Like I stated before, you can earn cash shop currency by trading your earned Aether for Zen with other players. Items like spell pages are largely useless to buy, since you can just earn spells through gameplay anyways, or buy them from the auction house for gold. Other items like character slots, XP boosters, and deck slots are largely just convenience items and are pretty standard for free-to-play titles. There is a battle pass that is in the game that nets you some additional rewards for free as well, with a premium battle pass that you can buy for $10, or you can just earn it via getting Zen from other players. Not too bad, right? Well, the problem with the cash shop currently is booster packs and class unlocks. Sure, you can earn the 5 main classes through gameplay by spending currency to unlock them, but each time you unlock a class, it gets progressively more expensive resource-wise to unlock the next in line. Or you can just spend a whopping $25 to unlock the next said class. So if you wanted to skip the grind and unlock all the starting classes right from the beginning, that's gonna cost you $100. To add insult to injury, there is also loot boxes called booster packs here, obviously mimicking the real card game. Currently, the game's booster pack theme is the Dimir Assassin, that 6th class we talked about, and yes, you guessed it, this is one of the ways to unlock that class. A glorified RNG loot box that isn't in your favor. Luckily, they did add a way to unlock the Assassin for free if you complete the current battle pass, but loot boxes will never sit right with gamers in today's landscape. Couple that with the booster packs containing chances to receive some of the higher end equipment in the game, it's just a bad practice here. This is where people are yelling pay to win, and while there are ways to earn every item that I've talked about here, it doesn't change the fact that the cash shop is pretty bad in its current state. Honestly, I would like to see the booster packs removed, and then just add a large section of cosmetic purchases, and then the cash shop to me would be fine. So what's the verdict? I mean, the game is fine in my opinion. It's not the best action RPG out there, but it's definitely not the worst game I've played. The server lag is definitely a pain in the butt to deal with, but it will get ironed out over time, and it's probably got some of the worst voice acting I've heard in a game in a long time. I think if you are a fan of Magic the Gathering, you will appreciate Magic Legends. For fans of online action RPGs, it's not a bad game to at least boot up and try out. If you don't like it, you still have options like Path of Exile or Diablo 3. Anyways, let's get to my overall thoughts. If you are a fan of Magic the Gathering, Magic Legends is a great game to get into, since you will see many references to the card game here. Things like Ralzarek, Nissa Ravane, Squee, and future characters may have you cracking a smile to finally see them in a game interacting with you versus seeing them on a card. For what the game is, it does at least try to be different with its combat, progression, and general gameplay, which I at least have to commend them on. They could have just gone with a standard hack and slash structure, but they at least tried to form something completely new here. Whether or not they succeeded is up for interpretation. Legends has 6 classes currently, with more promised, that can all be completely customized with your spell loadouts. No 2 players will be the same to an extent, which really gives a sense of variety in party play, even though you can only play with a party of 3 players, unfortunately. The game is completely free to play. That means all of the story, all areas, all spells, it's all either earnable or available for any player to play. The game is coming to basically all platforms. Currently open beta is on PC, but there is plans to release on PlayStation and Xbox later on. Unfortunately, with all the positives the game has, there are just as many negatives. At least currently at the time of this video, the game chugs with performance issues and server lag. Don't be surprised to have your character rubber band all over the place, or have the game come to a crawl when a lot of stuff is going on during combat. Even on high-end machines, this is a problem. The voice acting in this game borders on hilariously bad to just straight up terrible. I'm not sure if some of it is done on purpose, but sheesh, it's hard to listen to it sometimes. As we talked about during the cash shop discussion, the game is largely looked at as being pay to win. I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying out there, since much of it is largely convenience, but I can definitely agree that the loot boxes and class purchasing is just bad. While I can commend the team for making a combat system that is truly something different in the genre, I can't help but feel that it just doesn't work 100% of the time. There's quite a bit of times where the deck system works against you, which can make the combat feel a bit janky. It's definitely alleviated with enough theory crafting and spell unlocks, but I do have to admit that for the casual players, they will probably struggle to find fun in the combat system. You know how I stated that the game is coming to other platforms later on like PlayStation and Xbox? Well, your first question would probably be, does it have crossplay? Nope. It doesn't. Quite honestly, a very stupid decision if you ask me. Any online game will flourish more with crossplay support, and for Magic Legends to not have any plans for it, at least right now, is baffling. Come on devs, this is a no-brainer. Work on getting cross-platform support. Lastly, I'm worried about the game's longevity. Currently at the time of this video, there is no roadmap for what the future holds for content, and with its overwhelmingly negative feedback from YouTubers, I can't help but feel that this game is fighting an uphill battle right at release. I'm hopeful that it will persevere through the bad launch and find its foothold, but I do feel that it needs to win the hearts of those who are skipping the game simply due to the negative videos on it. Okay, ladies and gents, that's my thoughts on Magic Legends. After this video, do you plan to give it a shot or completely skip it? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm fairly curious on what people think about the game. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video as well to get it pushed into the YouTube algorithm. I'd super appreciate if you did so. And finally, for now, I think I'm gonna go play some actual Magic the Gathering with some of my buddies. Hopefully they don't get mad at me like they did last time.